Since 2005, Real Madrid and Barcelona have won 16 out of 18 La Liga titles. In fact, they've won 60% of all La Liga titles. They are easily two of the best teams in the world, but have they had it too easy in Spain? What if we put them in the Premier League? So I've swapped them with the current bottom two teams, and now we'll simulate into the future to see if they sink or swim. Leave your predictions down in the comment section below. If you predicted that Real Madrid were going to be champions, you'd have been correct. They win the title ahead of Man City, with Barcelona coming in fourth. I think the biggest surprise in all of this is that Erling Haaland only got 19 league goals. He was beaten out by Lewandowski and Kai Havertz. Declan Rice also wins his first Premier League title as he moved to Real Madrid for £92 million. And I'll be honest, it does feel like a bit of a shock because the best players in the Premier League are mostly at Man City. You've got a few Barcelona and Real Madrid players mixed in there, but based on the pure current ability, Man City should be running the division. But interestingly, both Real Madrid and Barcelona got knocked out of the round of 16 in the Champions League. As part of moving Barcelona and Real Madrid to the Premier League, we moved Southampton and Leicester the other way. And they've shocked me, because Southampton have come 6th place and Leicester have come 10th. Now, either this shows that Football Manager is massively overrating both of these two teams who are in a relegation battle in real life, or it does suggest that potentially La Liga is not quite as competitive as the Premier League. Make sure you stick around until the end of the video to see if Leicester and Southampton can keep up this good form. Real Madrid cannot retain their title in Season 2, but they came close, finishing 1 point behind Man City and level on points with Chelsea and Liverpool, with Barcelona just 5 points behind themselves. So both Madrid and Barcelona are established Champions League clubs in the Premier League. It just shows how good they are. Madrid have strengthened with some really good youngsters such as Scalvini and Gonzalo Ramos, whereas Barcelona signed absolutely no one. So they're doing pretty well with their existing team. But whilst Barcelona got knocked out in the semi-finals of the Champions League to eventual winners Man City, Real Madrid could only go as far as the quarter-finals, losing to eventual finalist PSG. So whilst they can do it in the Premier League, they are failing to have any success in Europe right now. Madrid and Barcelona have both dropped off in Season 3, more in terms of points totals. This time Madrid are 10 points off eventual champions Liverpool, and Barcelona slipped down to their lowest place yet, 6th. Again, Real Madrid are bringing in some quality youngsters in Timber, Endrick and Gula, and a world-class centre-back in Upamecano. But once again, Barcelona's lack of transfers is letting them down. But as you can see, they only have £8 million in their bank account, so they are struggling for cash. This time, Real Madrid get to the semi-finals of the Champions League, but lose to eventual winners again, Man City. But interestingly, Barcelona lose in the knockout playoff round to Southampton. I said we'd come back to these guys later, but the overlap is really good actually right now. Southampton are an established Champions League team in La Liga. If you predicted that right at the start of the video, then you deserve a pat on the back. If you didn't predict it, then you have to subscribe to the TomFM channel. Thank you very much. 100k is just around the corner. We are so close to it, so it'll be amazing to get there pretty soon. Real Madrid have won their second title in 4 years in the Premier League, dominating the table and pushing Barcelona down into 5th place. I find it more impressive that none of their players are in the top goals, average ratings or assists. They cut down on spending this year and actually signed Lokonga for £20 million after having him on loan last season. I see what's gone on here. It's one of my biggest bugbears in Football Manager. When the transfer window opened, the transfers counted towards the last season still, even though it's for the upcoming season. So if we go back to last season, they spent an insane amount of money on Alexander Isak and Dusan Vlahovic. Barcelona, on the other hand, are still not spending anything, which actually makes it even more impressive that they are still doing as well as they are to get in the top 5 every season pretty much. And Real Madrid lost to Man City in the Champions League as Man City went on to claim their 3rd title in a row. But in the Europa League, Barcelona lost the final on penalties to Borussia Dortmund. The worst thing is they were probably the better team on paper. And so whilst Barcelona are annoyed they lost the Europa League final, they're going to be even more annoyed that Real Madrid have won their 3rd Premier League title, 5 points clear of Arsenal, with Man City dropping back a little bit and Chelsea and Liverpool really far behind, and Barcelona even further behind that. We are getting into regen territory as 4 of Real Madrid signings are regens, but Barcelona are still doing nothing in the transfer market. Their team is genuinely almost identical to what it is in real life. Pedri is Barcelona's best player with 176 current ability, but Madrid have 3 players with higher current ability than Pedri. But despite the terrible finishes for Barcelona in the Premier League, they've got something that Real Madrid don't have: a Champions League, as they beat Bayern Munich in the final 1-0. They even knocked Real Madrid out in the round of 16. Would you rather your team win 3 domestic league titles or 1 Champions League? For me, I think I'd go Champions League. I just really want to see Ben House lift the Champions League trophy. Season 6 and Real Madrid have dropped to 3rd in the Premier League table, with Barcelona right on their tails in 4th. The big surprise here, actually, for me, is Man City dropping down to 6th. I always see Real Madrid buy Declan Rice, and they always play him at centre-back, which I always feel is a really odd position for him. I don't think he's a centre-back. And maybe that's why they never reach the Champions League final. But I tell you who does. Barcelona. Again, this time though they lose it 2-0 to Arsenal, but it was another early exit for Real Madrid, losing in the quarterfinals. But whilst they just can't do it in the Champions League, they adore the Premier League, winning their 4th title in 7 seasons. I find it really interesting that across a 38-game season, Real Madrid are more often than not in this experiment so far the very best. But Barcelona just can't seem to get close to winning a title until it comes to European football, and they just love knockout games, and they get to final after final and even win the odd one. In fact, they've also won a Carabao Cup, although that's not really that impressive. Madrid have won an FA Cup so far, which is maybe slightly more impressive, but they have won the most difficult trophy to win in the entire world. The Papa John's Trophy. The under-21s beat Fleetwood 2-0 a few years ago. I just like seeing Forest Green, Rotherham, Barnsley, Real Madrid. Anyway, moving on from that tangent onto season 8, and it's Man City who win the Premier League title, 6 points clear of Real Madrid in 4th, and Barcelona only in the Europa League again. But this season they are still in the Champions League, and they lost in the semi-finals to Real Madrid 3-1 on aggregate, and Real Madrid lost to Arsenal in extra time. Gianluca Scamacca scoring in extra time for an incredibly good Arsenal side, by the way. Musiala, Martinelli, Osimhen, Saka, Gravenberch, it's well good. But despite it being that good, they still can't beat Real Madrid in the Premier League, who win their 5th title in 9 seasons, and Barcelona are only 5th again. But Arsenal get their revenge in the Champions League, beating Real Madrid 2-1 in the final to win their 4th Champions League in a row. Dropping down into the Europa League though, Newcastle beat Barcelona in the semi-finals before going on to win it. But the worst is still to come for Barcelona, as in season 10 they finish in 8th place, only qualifying for the Conference League, as Real Madrid can only come runners-up to Man City. But Madrid have won 50% of the Premier Leagues that we've simulated in today's video, which is absolutely mental. But in all of this, they just couldn't win the Champions League. They've come in the quarterfinals again, losing out to Man City this time, but at least that was better than Barcelona, who got knocked out in the round of 16. So Madrid have had a cracking time in England, as you can see, and are easily the best team over the past 10 years. They've won 5 titles, never finished outside the top 4, they've won a few trophies as well. It's great for them. Barcelona have really surprised me though, because they never challenged for the title at all, and only twice came in the top 4, which just doesn't quite seem right, does it? But we have to remember they barely made any signings at all, at least for the first 6-7 years or so. So they were kind of doing it all with their squad they've got right now, which shows how good that current Barcelona team is. But what's been happening in Spain now the power vacuum has opened following the departure of these 2 giants? Well, it's natural to think that Atletico Madrid would go on to win the most titles, but you'd be wrong. Real Sociedad have become the new powerhouse in La Liga. Atletico Madrid have fumbled the bag. But surprisingly for me, Southampton have had a couple of top 3 finishes here, coming 3rd in 23-24 and 2nd in 26-27. But since that 2nd place have dropped off significantly. Leicester though are a different story. They've not won anything and have remained a mid-table team for the majority of their time in La Liga. But finally, I have simulated up to the year 2060, a good 38 years in the future from the start of this video. And Real Madrid have dropped off massively, coming 14th, way behind Barcelona and the title fight. Oh my word, they even got relegated to the Championship a couple of times. That's crazy! They came rock bottom in the 51-52 season when Barcelona won the title. And actually, Barcelona have gone from winning 0 titles to 7 titles. That's... what? Well, that has shook me to my core. They've also added some more Champions Leagues to their trophy cabinets, but I'm also quite interested to see that Real Betis have added some as well. So they've clearly become the best team in Spain, and as a result, have been able to win Champions Leagues. Looks like Southampton and Leicester are still mid-table teams as we left them off all the way back in 2030. Let's keep the binge going though. If you want to see me replay the entire career of Roy Hodgson in Football Manager, that video is on screen for you right now.